Hi folks, I'm Jason and welcome to ebike-centre. Today we've got the brand new Rise LT. Stay tuned. So, unless you've lived under a log for the last 5 years, anyone who's been following EMTB will have heard of the Orbea Rise. It was the original trailblazing mid-powered e-bike. They saw what everyone else was doing in the market and thought, you know what, there is a market for those people who aren't quite ready for a full-fat e-bike in terms of power, and mainly in terms of the weight. They thought there's a lot of people out there who aren't into EMTB yet because they find the bikes too big, too heavy and too cumbersome. So along came the Rise, a mid-powered bike that was hitting the scales around 20 kilograms. So what have Orbea done now? Well, here's the Mark II. They've taken what was brilliant about the Mark I and they've made it better. They've given it more range, they've made it stiffer, they've made it handle better, and they've done all of that by keeping it within the same weight. In addition, they've added more power, and that is the big thing. In addition to the new motor power, they've also released two different versions. They've got the Rise SL, which is essentially the same as the previous Rise. It's 140mm travel front and rear. And they've also brought out the Rise LT, which stands for long travel, which is what I've got behind me here. And that's got 160mm on the front and 150mm in the back, because they realized that they didn't target the enduro market. And that is where a huge amount of EMTB riders sit. And so they've now solved that with this one behind me. There are two battery options for this new Rise. There is a 420 battery option and a 630 battery option. What Orbea tell us is anyone that needs to ride or who will be riding in general for 2 to 3 hours should stick to the 420 watt-hour battery, because that saves them a kilo of weight. Anyone else that needs more range, or they're going to be doing some more burly riding with steeper inclines like enduro, then they're going to need the 630 battery. The very lightest Rise on the market, I am told, is 16.5 kilos, which is exceptionally light indeed. That will have the 420 battery in it. The one behind me has got a 630 battery. It's also the 160mm travel. This is the M Team edition, and this weighs 20.1 kilos. It's got a few other enhancements to this bike as well, but you're looking around the £10,000 mark for this bike. It has got a Mayo paint job, which is frankly stunning. Toby will do some great B-roll of that because it is really, really pretty. In addition, it's got upgraded brakes. It did have a different saddle, but someone broke it. I won't name names, Rob. And it's also got an upgraded shock. Plus, you've got the ability to run, which this one has the Di2 XTR gearing, which gives you fully automated shifting if you wish it. So the most noticeable changes between the Mark I and the Mark II are this additional crossbar in the middle of the frame here. That is to stiffen up the frame. So Orbea say it's 8% stiffer than the previous model, and it's 17% stiffer in the rear triangle as well. That will add to its ability to handle essentially a stiffer frame. Gives you much better agility of the bike, which is going to be particularly important when you're throwing these around, because they now can take 160mm travel on the front. They've slackened the head angle to 64 degrees, and as a result, you've got a bike that can do a lot more. It's far, far more capable than it used to be. It is a very, very pretty bike. And this has got, as I said before, this has got a Mayo paint job on it, so it's not a standard paint job, but it is exceptionally pretty. And if you have got the extra Wonga, because it's going to cost you a fair bit, it is really, really lovely. In addition, they have fitted what they call their steep and deep seat tube. So this will now take a 230mm dropper post, which is frankly massive. And I shall demonstrate here versus myself. This is an extra large frame, as you can tell. I am not also extra large. This is pretty much up to my nipples. But the reason for the steep and deep seat tube is essentially speed. The lower you can get that saddle down, the more agility somebody has got with the bike between their legs. So it's not going to whack between your legs. It's not going to get caught in all the nasty places that you don't want it to. So it does make the bike that little bit lower. Also, the standover height is very, very low. Hence why I can ride an extra large and not look too ridiculous. I almost had a different word that was very rude. But that's that. So the big thing about this new bike is it's essentially two bikes in one. You've got the ability to run the motor, which is now RS with a blue and a red here, which denotes that the EP801 is now got an option for running it at 85 Newton meters and at 56 Newton meters. So you can run it like the old Rise, which was 60 Newton meters if you're looking to have a cross-country bike that you get a decent amount of fitness on, or if you need something with more power because you're an enduro rider, or you're just not quite as fit as you hoped you were, you can crank this up with the eTube app, the Shimano eTube app. Very easy to do. You can switch from the RS to the RS Plus mode and get yourself that full 85 Newton meters of torque, and you can keep up with your mates who've got their Bosch bikes, or you can leave behind your mates who've got the old Rise. So ultimately, what you really want to know is what's the bike like to ride? Well, you can immediately feel, just from the first moment you get on the bike, that it's much more dynamic than the predecessor. The predecessor was excellent, the Generation 1, it really was, and it was a game-changing bike, but after riding it for a little while and also riding some bikes that its contemporaries that came in after it was feeling a little numb, I'd say, in comparison to some of the other bikes on the market. But the new Rise has really sort of reset the bar, and it's just so precise now, but at the same point, so much more capable. It seems strange that it can do both, but it's far, far better over the big lumps and bumps, because obviously, partly because that extra suspension travel, but also by adding this much stiffer frame that they managed to achieve, the bike really is, it's just so good in the corners. Like you could set it up and it's predictable, and it's just a joy to ride. It really is. One thing I would say, which is no disrespect to the bike, because it's not the bike's fault, I was given an extra large bike. I'm not extra large, so it was difficult to get a full feel of how good it is, but just from the limited riding I had on a bigger bike, it's very impressive indeed. So apart from the riding characteristics, which are significantly improved, the other really big change is obviously the motor. Having the RS-tuned motor, but with the Plus version, so the full 85 Newton meters of torque. One thing to always bear in mind with this bike is it is still RS-tuned, so it's not going to be as punchy as the normal 85 Newton meter EP801. It's set up to be much more lifelike, and personally I love that side of the bike, and that's to suit the style of riding I do. I really, really like it. Some people won't like it so much because there isn't the same level of overrun that say you get with things like the Bosch Performance Line CX or the standard EP8. But for me, I don't really need that. Someone that's doing more heavy duty stuff and wants to get over larger obstacles, they might find that lack of overrun isn't quite there for them. And you never know, there might be some options to adjust that at a later date. But for me, overall, although there's more power in the bike, it hasn't lost any of the natural riding characteristics that I love about the Rise and the original RS-tuned motor. There are some criticisms to be had on the Shimano system, as there is with every system. I really dislike the remote control. I don't think it's ergonomically that great, and the lack of any information on it, particularly the battery indicator side of things, which is poor, I don't like, and the fact that you really have to keep checking the app to know how much battery you've used. But other than that, it's very good. Overall, they've done a fantastic job with it. The bike also has the Shimano auto shift gearing, which I haven't used a great deal before, but I did enjoy it actually. It was very capable. Like it's a bit unnerving at first when you're not pedaling and suddenly you can feel something going on at the back and feel and hear this clicking behind you as it auto shifts you in the right gear. And in general, I found it really did set me up nicely to be in the correct gear when I wasn't pedaling and I was coasting. The only time I had an issue with it was when you're coasting, you're going fast, and suddenly you come to a quick stop because it hasn't had a chance to work out what's going on, and suddenly you're left in the wrong gear, which is kind of what happens to you anyway if you descend and you have to suddenly stop. But I think you can sit there and think to yourself that you've got this magic gear changing system behind you that will always be in the right gear, and 9 times out of 10 it is, but every now and again it isn't quite right, but hey, nothing's perfect. So to conclude, did I like the bike? Yes, very clearly I like the bike. If you didn't get that from the video, did you have your hands over your ears and your eyes closed? But yeah, it was I really love the bike. Aesthetically, it's stunning to start with, and how it rides, it's such a big improvement on the predecessor. And Toby and I were discussing it and we're saying you get, like with an iPhone, for instance, you get an upgrade all the time. Every year there's a new upgrade. You go, let's say from the 10, 11, 12, whatever it might be. Each time it's a little bit better, but what they've done here with Orbea, there's been lots of small changes that have added together to make a big leap. So rather than being like iPhone 10 to 11, it's more been like iPhone 10 to 15. It's a really big step change, and like hats off to Orbea, they really have taken what was already a very innovative product and they have taken it to another level. So which bike would I pick, you may ask? Well, I would go for the SL version, not the LT version. For the riding I do, that's all I need. And I would actually only go for the 420 battery because I don't need that huge battery. I can always add a range extender, which is going to give me over 600 watts of battery power, which is plenty for what I need. But what we really want to know is, what bike would you choose? Which model? Would you go for the LT? Which battery would you go for? And which spec would you go for? We have just found out literally today when we were filming this that the H version, so the aluminium versions have just been released as well. So yeah, please let us know in the comments below which version you would prefer, and Let us know any other comments. What do you think of the bike? Do you like it? Do you not like it? Do you think it's going to fit your needs? Is it not? Do you like Toby's hair? Not that you ever see him. Things like that. Just drop some comments in there, and we'd be really grateful to see those. And thank you very much for watching the video. And if you could like and subscribe, we'd be very, very grateful indeed. If we don't see you in store, we will see you in the next video.
Cheers.